Welcome to IG's Trade Talk. I'm here with Dallas Orchard from IGT. Day 3 of G2E Asia. Dallas, how's the show been?
Yeah, really good, Ben. Thank you. Nice to see you again, by the way. Always a pleasure to be in Macau. Busy few days and something that we've really been looking forward to as we've gained momentum year over year and really good portfolio for us this year across systems and games. So great show so far.
We obviously speak at G2E Asia every year, so it's an annual thing. What sort of happened with IGT over the past year? What's been the focus and I guess the results from the past 12 months?
Yeah, look, I'm glad you really brought that up. I mean, for us, I'd say if there were two words I'd like to use for this year's show, it would be depth and momentum. Since we've been meeting with you over the last few years, obviously, we've made it very well known to all of our customers, industry publications, and everybody in the industry that we're much more committed to the Asia market, not just through game quantity, but strategy and targeted approach across systems and EGMs. And each and every year, I think the portfolio that we display at G2E speaks to that more and more. And depth is by way of, like I mentioned, quantity, but also quality around our dual screen and our portrait cabinet, and of course our systems business, and then momentum in regards to game performance. So it's great that we're talking about the strategy, but to actually start to see the games perform. Rising Rockets right behind us here, great example of that, the #1 game in the Philippines at the moment, just lends credence to the strategy, the investment, and having that performance, I think, allows us to continue to go bigger and better. And that's what we see right now. Depth in the portfolio and certainly momentum with our customers and our product performance.
And in what you've done with the portfolio, as you say, with depth and individual games as well performing well, has that been a case of trial and error a little bit over the past few years?
Yeah, and I'd say even goes back beyond that. Certainly the way IGT has approached the Asia-Pacific market has probably been trial and error and through different regimes. I think what sets this strategy apart that's been 3-4 years in the making now is making sure we've smoothed out those processes. We have a really clear understanding as to how our global studios contribute to the region and how our local studios in Sydney and Beijing contribute to the region. And that's what you start to see. The portfolio is just much more polished now. So process and studio development and education being one, and then two, understanding what types of games we need to build. Like if you look around the show here today with Rising Rockets, with Ying Fu Wa, with Money Gong, with Tiger and Dragon, you've got a really good balance of global games tailored for the market with currency and jackpots and language, and games built in Australia targeted for the market. And so that's the improvement I think is very evident year over year. Industry awards are starting to come in as well, which is really pleasing. And all we really take away from that is the honour of receiving that, but more importantly, the validation of the strategy that we're putting together for this part of the world.
What's your feel on how operators view IGT in this region these days?
A great question, and I think that's probably why I use the word momentum, because more so than ever before at this year's show, that feedback is becoming more and more positive. And those that were sceptical about our long-term investment or our commitment or were taking time are starting to recognise that now. And as I mentioned, a lot of the customers that don't already have Rising Rockets have taken it at the show to the extent that we're building 2 more games for that brand. We're going to extend the Ying Fu Wa brand. So I'd say those that have always believed in us and committed with us are pleased that investment is paying off, and those that have been sitting back and kind of waiting are starting to come around and really recognise that we aren't going anywhere, and that's the most important thing, that we're here, we're sustainable, and if they choose to invest in IGT, we're not going to let them down.
How much crossover is there with IGT in terms of product development for the Asian region and let's say ANZ or even elsewhere?
Yeah, good question. Quite a lot, actually, but targeted again. So whereas it used to just be which games could we get approved in the market, now it's making sure we understand which games are coming out of Sydney are being built for Asia. One of the other shifts we've made recently is that we'll make sure Asia's the first market. So our Sydney and our Beijing studio, Ying Fu Wa, for instance, was built for this market. And then if it works here, we'll consider taking it to Australia. So from a local APAC standpoint, we really have a good understanding as to what we want the local studios to build and why. And then, of course, with the global studios, it's a much deeper understanding as to what we're trying to achieve in Asia, particularly like markets like Macau and the Philippines, which are big link markets. And we're starting to see the crossover of some of those really good mechanics. So absolutely there's crossover, but it's targeted with the right products and making sure the attunement for the local market is where it needs to be to draw in the local players.
You mentioned Rising Rockets is performing very well in the Philippines. Any other particular jurisdictions in Asia that you're starting to see solid results in that regard?
Yeah, even here in Macau to a certain extent. Obviously, we know it's still a table games oriented market, but I think I mentioned yesterday on the panel that all of the operators we had dinner with the other night are starting to say there's more demand than supply. They're also saying some of those fantastic great links that have been out there in the marketplace, while still performing, players are starting to search for something different. And that's why I think the time is just incredible for IGT to be this far advanced and mature in our strategy, because we have the games now to start supplying and create that little point of difference through hold and spin, through lock and respin bonuses. So yeah, we're getting good performance in Singapore. We always have. We're starting to see signs of improvement in Macau, which is very important. Malaysian clubs, Vietnam, and most importantly, I'd say at this point in the Philippines, we feel as though we're in a really strong position.
Thanks, Dallas.
Much appreciated.
Charles CEO, good to talk to you here on the IGT stand. We're standing in front of Rising Rockets, which is obviously a bit of a star performer for you guys at the moment. Can you tell me about the game?
Look, it was a sleeper for us, released in the market about 6-7 months ago in the Philippines, so that's first market. Currently, it's probably our number one product from an Asia perspective. And given the success of that product, we're looking to bring that across to the other aspects of other regions of Asia. It's been well received both from an operator perspective, but from a customer perspective. It's a unique game, a game that doesn't have any free games. So the RTP traditionally that was funneled towards a free game feature, we funneled that into the hold and spin, which we know that's sort of the trending mechanic across Asia and globally at the moment. So we're excited, hot off the press. We're looking to build on the brand, include games number 3 and 4 later on this year. So we're excited, and it's a great opportunity for us to enter the market with our product strategy that we've been talking about the last couple of years.
Well, we always talk about innovation, don't we, in industry? So I guess removing a free games feature and putting that math into other features of the game is quite an interesting take.
Yeah, I mean 100%, right? Traditionally, people were getting scatters to get into the free games, and now we see a lot of the product that's on the casino floors. People are getting into the free games as a vehicle to get into hold and spin. And as IGT, we've removed that extra layer of getting into the hold and spin, and why not give that RTP straight into the hold and spin for the players?
And what are some of the other products that you're pushing out there into the market at the moment?
Wow, where do I begin? I think from a product portfolio on our stand, we've increased about 14-15% from last year. The great news is everything on our stand is approved or going to be approved in the next 6 to 8 months. Our key standout after obviously Rising Rockets has been Money Gong. Again, it's a unique aspect where there's a hold and spin feature within a hold and spin feature. That's been well received across all customers in Asia.
And I asked the same question to Dallas, but where particularly are you enjoying some success and seeing certain titles like Money Gong, for example, have good results?
Of course, the Philippines, right? I mean, that's for us, not just from an IGT perspective, but I think from other manufacturers, that's sort of the most growth market that we're seeing in the region. For us, we've seen a huge amount of success, not from Rising Rockets only, but for our Prosperity as well, and obviously Ingfuwa, and that gave us an opportunity to build Ingfuwa Fa Fa Fa, which is behind you, Ben, to release into that market. But we're continuing to be putting additional units out there in the Philippines, and we're the next 6 to 8 months, I think, is critical for us to grow our install base.
Thanks, Charles.